you have been going through a lot, experiencing a lot. We don't even know what the new norm is anymore. What we have done is learn to be thankful.
It is indeed. And I forgot that it's around my neck and it is not going to pass as a scarf. It's just going to look like a mask that's out of place. Okay.
She's here and she's live. So to our radio listening audience, thank you so much for tuning in to Let's Talk Business with SJC. It's our first hour of the show. And normally here, co-hosting with me is Derrick Blue, who normally gives us the blueprint. And the blueprint today is going to be about assembly. And interestingly enough, I actually happen to. It's blue. Well, I've got this green screen, so you may not be able to see it, but it is blue. Showing it. It is blue, so it doesn't take away from that. One of the things. So here joining us today is, let's see. Yes, we're multitasking. She's from here. She's a native. Phan, Boston. We are streaming live on Facebook, Phan.
Greetings. Thank you for having me today. Unmasked and all.
I love it. I love it. We are so happy to have you here. We've been talking to Phan for a while now. Let's make sure that Phan has her earbuds in so that both microphones won't be competing. Okay, with that being said, you're fine. I think our sound is coming through strong. So she's here. She's from here. Many of you all will know her from, let's see, Middleton, Land of the Tigers. Miss Middleton, 19. What year, Phan? Phan is multitasking too.
I am. Bear with us for a minute.
All right. Well, while Phan is taking care of the technical components, I'll go ahead and tell you what I know about her. But yes, Middleton Senior High School, family from here, and just the other day, yeah, shout out to Miss Middleton. Just the other day, I was looking at a post on Facebook, and just so happened it was kind of like a throwback Thursday, and it was Phan Boston. And Phan went on to be the leader in a male dominated field in the insurance industry. And many of you all will remember she had her as an independent insurance agent. She had her own office, and that allowed her the opportunity to not only just do so much for her family, but what she was able to do for her community. And we love the fact that Phan had this office because when she wasn't working, it gave us a place to host a few meetings and have some girl talk and talk business and community initiatives. And it's just great to have that kind of clout and status, but you can still talk to her in a rocking chair on your front porch and talk to her about anything. And so for that, we are just grateful. And if Fawn is ready to come in, I'll let Fawn tell you about herself.
Well, thank you for that complimentary introduction. And yes, our aim is always to be inviting. And so, usually, when I ask for help, the answer is yes.
Yes.
And I'm grateful for that. I'm here on behalf of 2020 Census. And as most of you know, not any person or entity has escaped COVID 19,
Ooh,
nor have we escaped the issues we face as well. Now it's up in the air as to what we're to be called, whether we're still supposed to be called people of color, whether that's the most correct label, or we're African Americans, or we're black, or we're blue, or we're green, whatever. But we all know who we are, and we know uh, how people perceive us when they see us before we even open our mouths. So we're all being impacted by these very trying times, and we are figuring out how to thrive in this virtual environment, because indeed it's just a different way of doing things. Here at the census, we were events based when it came to outreach. When I worked in 2010, we went to health fairs and great big events and state fairs and meetings and 1,000 principals in the school district and school board meetings, all those things. And now they're all virtual. And you have to
absolutely.
scramble like whatever to even get on the agenda and still not get on the agenda. So we have to take the message so that people can hear it, and we have to now be essentials driven. So we know that we all have to eat, and we now are able to go to the doctor outside of a COVID 19 emergency, and we can go to CVS and Walgreens and all those drug dispensaries. So we take the message to where the people are, because they have to be there, and to food distributions
How about that?
centers. So that's where we are.
That's where we are. But before we delve too much into Census 2020, Fawn, you came out of retirement. And what appealed to you about working for the government with the census program in 2010?
Well, actually, 2010 was a lot of fun, even though my manager is a very driven person, and she'll own up to that. Bernadine White King. So when the opportunity became available in 2020, actually in 2019, she said, "Get your resume ready, get ready to work." I was saying to myself, "I'm retired. I had no plans of working for the census again."
I know
So
it.
I sent her a resume, and she said, "That's not the right resume. Fix it up." So I gave her a more complete resume, and we started the process. Prior to getting the position as census coordinator for Hillsborough County government, I was a field supervisor for the address canvassing component, which gave me a heads up on the boots on the ground operation. And it also gave me a look into what 2020 census is going, how it's going, it was going at that time, going to
Yeah.
operate. Because prior to that, we had paper
Yes.
questionnaires that were mailed out. And if you didn't fill it out, someone showed up at your door to personally do it with you. Now we are in an entirely new mode, not even anticipating that online completion would be such a major part of the operation. So 3 ways. Now the message has been boiled down to 3 ways to respond: online, 2020census.gov, by phone, 844-330-2020, or by mail. And you can call in that number and get your census form mailed out to you prior to the worker coming out reportedly next month, but we're not sure about that. But as it
In,
stands today, workers will be in the neighborhoods in August.
in August. Now, as I heard you talk about boots on the ground, I got a chuckle and a shout out to the year that I worked. I was home from college for the summer and was looking for a summer job. And remember hearing about the census, and that was a couple of years ago. Went to West Tampa Neighborhood Service Center, and at that time, Artest Moraine was also heading the summer camp. And I thought, well, how bad could that job be? But, at the time, the students, we were excited, the other kids that were home from college, and decided to take that challenge on. So, as I heard you talk about the actual form and taking the form to the homes, that's exactly what we did. And we were just so young, it didn't matter, where they sent us. But we were actually out in Plant City, Ruskin air. I mean, the rural of ruralest areas at that time. And we decided to develop our own strategy. So I know the importance of being having boots on the ground. I was a boot on the ground. And talk about learning how to handle rejection.
Hmm.
That was a big part of it. So we had to figure out because our leader was goal and task oriented, and we needed to come back with some numbers and some positive numbers at that. And so you had to, work around, and we did scripting of the conversation, and had to go back to some of those locations. But then, as I hear you talk about it today, and because of what we're going through with COVID-19, this is going to be totally different from us. And so I knew you were going to be a guest on the show. Derrick Blue and I understood the importance of showcasing what the blueprint for the census would be. And it really is a very short questionnaire. And so I said to you, Phan, thanks for the reminder. My husband had been reminding me to complete the census form, but it's one of those things on your list. You know you're going to get to it at the moment. It didn't take priority. So when you and wanted to come on the show to talk about it, well, I couldn't be a hypocrite. So I decided to do two things: to go and complete the application survey manually, and then I decided to go and complete it online. Timing was different. I thought online was just going to take me a quick 5 minutes. I'm computer savvy, I could go and click things. But as you're reading and clicking, you've also got to make sure that you're clicking the right boxes. And so the printed version, I was able to really do that. It literally took 5 minutes. So we can't say we don't have the time to complete it, whether it's the application itself manually or to go online. Online took me about 8 minutes, and that's because, like I said, I wanted to make sure my cursor was in the right place. I was clicking the right boxes, and to see and then be able to make that comparison. So as you're going to talk to, really, our show is global, and you'll be able to share the importance of it, then now I can really be a true guinea pig because I've gone through and I did them both. And really, people, let today be the day. You don't even have to wait for August for the interviewee to come and knock on your door. And so, Fawn, why don't you take us, before we get into the application process, share with our audience some of the whys. Why should you complete the 2020 census?
The census impacts just about every aspect of our lives, especially those main areas, starting with healthcare. As we drive through the Tampa Bay area, we'll pass hospitals and we'll pass numerous Tampa Family Healthcare Centers
Oh,
who
yes.
receive a substantial amount of funding from the government, and that's their lifeline to healthcare. We have funding for food assistance through WIC, through food stamps, and now because of the impact of COVID, We've gotten extra food for children who are out of school and were dependent on those meals during summer school and the summer feeding program. All of those things have been revamped so that meals are being delivered to school drop off sites, to produce, uh, the veggie van, to produce distribution centers on Saturdays at schools and other facilities. And that too is linked to government funding. The very roads that we travel, the road improvement, highways, all of the public transportation. Many will not even get to work without public transportation. And that is dependent upon federal funding. So we have healthcare, we have food assistance, we have housing, housing through first time buyers programs, through Section 8 and other housing subsidies, through housing, especially for the disabled and for veterans and for seniors. Yet another vital link to those funds. And the important thing about all of it is it's in direct proportion to the number of people who respond in our community. Those dollars are going to be distributed.
Yeah.
So if we decide that we don't want to be counted
Mm.
completely, then our neighbor in Pinellas will be sure to take part of the share. They've been running 2 percentage points plus above us since March when the census operation got underway. So we know that we're bigger than Hillsborough. It's not a competition per se, but we need our share of the money.
We do.
We simply do.
From what you've been working with and some of the statistical data that you're hearing and seeing coming in, are you able to see what our seniors are you able to see, let's see, by age?
We're not able to see by age, but we are able to see by location.
Okay.
So we get the it's set up by tracks, and the tracks contain certain numbers of blocks within a neighborhood.
Right, right.
So we can go to that response, color response rate map, and it's
Okay.
updated daily except on weekends. As we go to particular parts of the county, and we'll get an indicator by the coloring. There's a chart that goes with the mapping, and we can go in and we can see, for example, that Temple Terrace is ahead of the pack in Hillsborough County. Yet even Temple Terrace has two pockets, and they're adjoining pockets. And
Okay.
so as we zero in on those target areas, then we can encourage people to respond to bump those numbers even higher. The same is true for Plant City, for the city of Tampa, and then for the county at large. So right now, we are showing about a 60.3% response rate for Hillsborough County overall. And in 2010, our final percentage was 72%. We have time.
Hmm,
And that's
we
that's
do.
the other part of the message. We do have time. Census data collection time frame has been extended to October 31st, but we don't want to be known as a last minute people. I mean, there's just no point in that. You would think that with online connections, especially because children had access to
Absolutely.
laptops and to tablets that prior to the pandemic they didn't have access to.
That's right.
And so we were hoping and believing and getting the information out there that when the kids were off, then the parents would go on and report. But that did not happen, for many reasons. Many reasons. Some communities are scared. There was a scare at the beginning of the launch when last year, this time, the administration was attempting to get the citizenship question on
Okay.
the
Right. I
form,
remember.
and the court ruled against that. But by then, the mission had been accomplished because it instilled fear in the hearts and minds and spirits of those who could be impacted by the very thought that ICE might access that information, even though it's confidential, and it's confidential by constitutional mandate.
Absolutely.
Then we have there's another group, and these are I want to put a tag on it. I'll just say this: I don't want the government in my business
Mm.
group. Well, if you get food stamps, if you get WIC, if you're on Section 8,
Social
if you're in
Security.
public housing, if you go to the hospital or to a doctor's office, they get far more information than the census could ever gather, and the census is your business. No, it's our business. It's everybody's business because we want these services to continue. And the census does not ask for your social security number.
They do not.
And if anybody asks for your social security number, you will know that they are not affiliated with the census.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, the only personal thing that you're getting out of that is your date of birth.
That's right.
If it comes to that person, and if you're talking about the government, we already know what that they already know what that is. So you're talking about percentages, but I heard you talk about the fear of individuals and what that may mean to them. But when you look at what happens and the impact of us just completing the census, it affects everything we do. I mean, you have covered the gamut from housing to healthcare. We're going through a pandemic right now. Healthcare is the number one hot topic that's happening right here, all over, globally. So it's definitely important for us to think about what that means when it comes to dollars being circulated in our community for health care so that we can have access to health care. That becomes very, very important. So after we get, say, away from the fear factor, you mentioned that we have time. But you know what? Time is almost a relative thing because you can take your time today and make it productive. You can say, well, I'm not going to do it today. I said from the offset, I was going to take care of it later. But really, all of us have 10 minutes. And if it may take you a little longer, what I did read was you gave out the phone number. We'll give it out again. We will post the phone number and as well the website. The website is on our Facebook page. And let me take this opportunity to say thank you to our Facebook listeners. We are streaming live on Facebook. And if any of you that are a part of the live stream and you have a question, just say perhaps you have not gone over the actual census itself. And if so, that's okay. You can do it now. You know, Phan has been pointing us to where it is, what we need to do. Three ways. One, two, three. Simple, three ways. We're talking to you about it now. As a matter of fact, while we're on the phone, you on this live stream of Zoom, you can go straight to the website. Guess what? They're standing by, waiting on you. You can go straight to the website, and before this show ends, you could have completed the census questionnaire. So, to our Facebook viewers, to our In Touch viewers, do us a favor because Fawn is giving out some pertinent information. Please share, share, share. Share Facebook. You'll be able to catch this later on YouTube. You may be looking at YouTube now. But if you're on our Facebook Live and we see you, we appreciate you. We thank you for taking your lunch break with us. But please do us that favor, like it and share. So when she comes back, she's looking at statistical data on behalf of Census 2020. Then internally, the project that she's working on, we need to get the word out. Why can't we increase our percentage from Hillsborough County? Why can't we take this power hour? Just take 10 minutes out of your hour and go ahead and complete it. I could not find, let me pause for a second. It took me a matter of minutes because I have a very, very, very small household. When I got inside of the survey manually, I was like, oh yes, no person 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or add more. So yeah, it will take you a little longer if your household is beyond two. But it's okay because the questions they're asking you, it's information that we already know. As parents, most of us know that data by heart. So you're duplicating addresses, you're just giving dates of birth and names. It's still a simple process. So when it comes to us complaining about, as you're driving in, the roads and the potholes, if you're complaining about, I heard the news yesterday, Fawn, and they were talking about increasing and adding more sites so that residents could go and take the COVID-19 test. All of this comes back to funding and by us
Absolutely.
completing this application. That's right under. As a matter of fact, I think it's probably more important today, that healthcare piece, because of a pandemic and what we're able to do goes back to funding.
And we are competing against so many pressures now. We do rely on our partners, and it's an all volunteer core. So when people are looking at uh, mortgage payments, and possible loss of housing
Yeah,
because
got a
of this
moratorium that just got
situation,
extended.
and even being faced with being survivors because family members or friends have died. And on that other end, family members or friends or people who feel like family have lost their lives in the hands of the police. So we're just overwhelmed with the pandemic and the pandemic within the pandemic. And
You're
so, with
absolutely
all of
right.
that pressure coupled with confusion, we simply have to stop and exhale. We really need to do that because there's still confusion even concerning the census. One of the largest undercounted groups is young children,
Okay.
and here's how they're missed. They're over at grandma's house sometimes, or there's a shared custody situation. And when somebody finally stops to talk about it, did you fill out your census? Yeah. Well,
Mm.
did you count little brother? Uh, no, I thought you counted him.
Uh-oh.
So little brother is lost in the shuffle, but not to worry because all you have to do is we're trying to work. All we have to do is call in and one little brother double check all this child in place this person too. That person too. And that's the way it's supposed to go. However, we don't want anybody left out
Absolutely.
at all.
Oh, there you go. I can hear you much better.
Okay.
But fun as I heard. So when I was completing the census, and one of the final, because they asked you to go back and review, and each time you enter a segment, you have the ability to edit and or remove information. So one of the things was, once you got to the end, the last warning was, once you submit that electronic that electronic claim, there's no changing it. So what I'm hearing you say is they can make a phone call
They can make a phone
and
call.
go back and make that edit,
Mm-hmm. So that
because
that person, the
that is
missing
very important.
person, is
And in
counted.
our culture, we do have a lot of that. And they ask the question, does this person live in your home with you for a certain amount of time? And so we definitely don't want our kids to come in unrepresented. I was listening to a show, just kind of passing by, and it was a show on forensic homicide. And one of the things the investigator was saying in that particular area of town is they rely on census data. And they were saying that the African American culture was severely underrepresented. And as a result of that, it affected their search in finding the perpetrator. And I thought that no coincidence that I walked by and was able to hear that at that moment, which made it more impactful for me to say, man, we're doing the right thing. We're doing the right thing by having you come on and using this platform to talk about the importance of completing the census questionnaire. You mentioned, and I thought about this because it kept coming back. Did they live in your home by, April 1st? And I was just thinking, and I'm going to use this as just an opportunity, because even doing this show today, I'm getting through. It's a tough journey, but I do want to take the opportunity to say thank you to my Facebook family and friends who were on the show with me last week, as we were praying and had visuals going for a couple of days for my dearly beloved sister, Bernadine Jennings Twan, did make her heavenly transition early Thursday morning, and so she got to enjoy my show. And as I heard you talk about those and family members that we've lost as a result of the pandemic, as a result of violence, those that were murdered, it's important for us to pay attention. But when I was looking at that date, I thought, man, if we had completed the census when it first came out, there's a lot of numbers, a lot of people that would have been included. So every time I hear time, I'm thinking, really, the time is now. The time is now. The time is now. So we just thought about this. So what we're going to do, since this is a great segment, a great time for us to take a break, we'll come back because you have some hot spots. And I really want to make sure that we cover those hot spots because they affect our culture, people of brown and black color. And so we'll come back after the break. But again, thank you for tuning in to Facebook, to YouTube, to our In Touch News Live. We will be back after the break. And so take a look at our map or go online and check out the map yourself. And use this break to start completing the application. Back in a moment.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. You can make a difference by dropping off a hot meal and saying a quick hello. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do.
Know someone being bullied online? You can be a witness and make a difference by letting the world know it isn't cool and by letting your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
You really ready for some super dynamite soul?
Yeah, boy!
You've come to the right place. In Touch Radio. In Touch Radio. In Touch Radio.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
It's important to plan ahead for emergencies, like the storm. When it kicked in, we had a plan.
Separated.
We were able to get in touch with each other
in
no
time. Idea how to find each other.
The whole experience was
the most frightening 10 hours of my life.
If there's one piece of advice I'd offer other moms out there, it's to stay calm and keep to the plan.
Message.
Some parents plan ahead. Some don't. Make sure you know where to find your family in an emergency. Start your plan at ready.gov. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
And we are back. Again, thank you to In Touch News for helping us to be able to navigate and create our podcasts and still continue to do our show live. Is it challenging? Absolutely. But we're not quitters. We continue to move on. So again, thank you to those of you. Please remember to like our page and share this information. If you're at your lunch or having lunch, go back and share it with your family. Use this as an opportunity. I know when our kids were small, we wanted them to understand the importance of the census and allow them to see it and understand the parts that we were asking. And so I actually have Phan, as you know, in my office, my grandson. So I'm going to shout out Makai Kusa Williams, who's here acting as my assistant today. And he's helping us to navigate through all of this. But being that he's a young man and a young black strong male at that, shout out to all of our males and the importance of them. So he asked a question: what should young people care about when it comes to the census? And I know you were talking about so many different areas, from healthcare to housing. He's actually on a summer break, Seminole, from Florida State University. But Phan, let's talk about that education component. How does that affect our college students and those graduates who are coming out in 2020 and preparing to go into a college institution?
From preschool through college, that's the impact, whether public or private, and starting with the little ones, school readiness that provides for preschool experiences for working mothers and working families, or those who are in school where the parental person is in school, and providing much needed daycare, preschool education for little ones, for Head Start. And we know Head Start has been around now for 50 years.
Absolutely.
Head Start began when I had my first professional job. So that was a very long time ago.
And speaking of Head Start,
still thriving. When we go on through secondary school, preschool, to secondary school, to college, to trade school, to Pell Grants.
There you go, Pell Grants.
Pell Grants. Many students would not be able to make it.
Absolutely.
Without that Pell Grant, with the underscore under grant, not loan.
Yes.
Which is certainly preferable to a loan, even though we know in many instances a loan is necessary. But if student qualifies for a grant, that's definitely the way to go. So the census in the schools has always been a major component in our outreach program, and that was derailed by COVID-19. So we're gearing up again. The Education Complete Count Committee is now distributing jumbo, colorful postcard reminders and coloring books through the food distribution program.
Oh, awesome.
And in those 23 hot neighborhoods, that information is going out bi-weekly as a reminder to parents that you don't need to wait until someone shows up at your door, because it's preferable that they not do that.
Absolutely.
It's costly for workers to show up to do that. And for some people, it is an invasion of their privacy, and they don't feel comfortable giving out information that they could have voluntarily given on their own schedules.
Well, all the more reason to complete it online. You can actually do it from your cell phone, any of your mobile devices. When I heard you say 23 hotspots?
Yes, and that's neighborhoods. Yes,
that's a lot of hotspots.
That's a lot of hotspots.
Now you're on the show today because we're talking hot topics, but we promised our radio listening audience that you would come back after the break to talk about some of these hot spots And we'll switch back to our map. But you put a point there about the educational system and the importance from Head Start. And when you said Head Start, I immediately thought about the late Mr. James Hammond, because it was James Hammond who started the first Head Start program that he wrote, developed with the assistance of other educators. And that program was actually then incorporated into Hillsborough County. And so we can't let the day go by you having said that and talked about how that impacted your life, all of our lives actually. I asked my grandson, so he asked that question. So it is important, if you are getting ready to go off to school, ask your parents, have we as a family completed the 2020 census? Because that's going to affect Pell Grants. The other thing I asked him, or the other question he had was, young kids are home from college. I said to you, one of my first jobs out of college was boots on the ground. I was a census taker. And I knew after that next year that I wanted an air conditioned job. That's for sure. I knew I wanted a desk job, but it was important. And I was glad I got that experience. And all of us, there was a group of us that went out into those. And I'm thinking Artest, Moraine, Newkirk, they gave us the hot spots. And those were the areas that we had to serve. But Makai asked another question, and that is, as young people, what can they do to serve or volunteer? What would you say to that? How can they?
They can actually they can form their own complete count committee, and I'm in the process of doing that now with some of the leaders from youth groups, NAACP, the Caribbean Association,
Okay.
Middleton High School, and I have a young lady who is working on some social media clips for me. Because if we're bringing it virtually,
Yes.
then we need a hook. I mean, we just
You
do.
better.
We need a hook. And we know that young people have a tendency to, if they get a hold of something, they're going to stay with it.
Yes.
And they will lean on their parents. We're talking about going back in the day, actually before the day, during the civil rights movement. Some of our parents were not able to demonstrate. It would have been very risky for them to do that. However, they sent us out with their blessings to the sit-ins and that kind of thing, to make the inroads, to make the progress that we enjoy today. And so it's important to mobilize youth. We can see that the young people are the driving force behind Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
And this is a matter particularly for Black people and people of color, especially when it comes to politics, because the other main function of census data collection is representation in Congress.
Yes.
In 2010,
great point.
Those results allowed us to pick up 3 seats in the House of Representatives. So if we push the numbers even higher, who knows? We might gain yet another seat, and we can do that. It only takes 10 minutes, and everybody needs to do their time so that we're not counting too many people who are doing time, because the inmates are counted. And guess where they're counted? They're counted in the county where their facilities are.
Oh, well, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because 2 points as I listened to you. The third question that Makai had was just that, about inmates. How are they counted? Now you're beginning to share that and the importance of it, because when you're reading the census, one of the statements is that if you have family members who are incarcerated, they are not to be included on your census form, because now you're about to tell us just how they are counted, and even still why it's important for that count. And that was his question. Are they counted, and why should we count them?
So they're counted in the facility, which could be in North Florida. It could most likely be in the boonies somewhere. And their release dates may be next month.
Okay.
But those dollars are going to come back in to those rural counties where the penal institutions are.
Again, we go back to the time, how important the timing is in completing it today. And that's on all levels.
Same is true for college students. College students are counted on their campuses, not in their parents' homes. So that's made for a lot of confusion this time.
Yeah, I'm about to ask another question.
Kids were kicked off campuses and they had to come back home. So we got parents with full houses now. And that happened before, right about the same time the questionnaires were coming out. So many of those students were counted at home, and some of them are going to be counted on campus, even though they're really not there. And we're not sure that the plan is for them to go back in the fall, but we don't really know what's going to happen with that.
But a great time to ask the question. So if parents have counted them because they were home for the summer, and that means they're already accounted, but if the parents haven't, then that's incumbent upon the student to also make sure that they were counted when they return back to the institution.
Absolutely, because if they don't, the school is going to count them.
And again, it goes back to funding. It goes back to funding and the importance of wherever that student is, that they are counted in the numbers. Hotspots.
The hotspots. Okay. Biggest one from north from Fowler to Fletcher, east from the interstate over to about 50th Street. That's the big block.
And that's what we call Suitcase City?
Yes. So we have all those apartment complexes, and we have some single family homes in there, but that is a massive area. And the tracks are all adjoining tracks. So we will be concentrating our special efforts on that block of tracks. And
so if that's the number one hotspot, so if you were able to give us the top, say 5 to 10 hotspots that we can maybe add in our thank you post, so that as we're putting our thank you message out there, we're certainly talking about it now. You've given us the first one, and that is very, very important. There's a lot of migrants out there as well. I noticed when I would go out there,
we go far south, to South County, to Wimauma, Ruskin, Baum. That's the other area. And now the stats are showing that numbers in the Hispanic population are down, noticeably down. So that's a challenge. It's a challenge, and we cannot overstress the importance of our residents knowing that information is confidential, and it is confidential for 72 years. The raw numbers, the demographics will come out, but in terms of the identity of that household, that is sealed for 72 years. Cannot see it except by court order.
So I heard you talk about that, and the other thing that a thought came across my mind, and the importance of the census, and that is our voice. That's our voice to funding. And as we are in this political season right now, actually political year, locally, it's heavily concentrated because of our election in August. So it's important and we've been saying your vote is your voice, and here the census is also your voice. Truly. Completing that questionnaire. So we've got it on both accounts, and we should look at it just as important as we look at our votes.
And as we head north to the agricultural areas of Hillsborough, between Tampa, Dover, Turkey Creek, a pocket in there. Again, that's another area that's heavily populated with Hispanic residents, agricultural workers. If we head west, we'll get a similar demographic, except that it's urban.
Okay.
And that's in the Lato, Town and Country, Lato High School area. That's another hot spot. And then right down from there, Drew Park. So in all four corners, we have challenges. And that's where we'll be doing special efforts to get those questionnaires completed.
And so you're here today making that appeal and sharing with us, and we'll ask you again for those hot spots, because that's very, very important. And just targeting those areas alone, they'll be able to up our numbers and increase our percentages. So when we're looking at those, I've heard you talk about, and you really covered the gamut. And so as a business owner, and understanding the importance of funding and making sure that our small businesses, specifically Black owned businesses, I just happen to be the publisher of DSI Black Pages Tampa Bay, and a platform that we use in a directory sense in order to be able to help consumers find our Black owned businesses. And each time at each point of our show moving forward, that's what we're going to be talking about. Last week, we shouted out our attorneys. And I remember wearing this ring, and I promised the audience that I would tell them Ophelia Bolden designed and made this ring. And so I'm actually going to attach her card. It's absolutely beautiful ring. She was out here for the Black Wall Street, which was something. When I say out here, the campus of 5508, and we were planning the Black Wall Street again. All of those numbers become important. But so I'm on a campus hub of Black owned businesses. And I was thinking about that. And as a result of us completing information, making sure that our businesses are legit and we have the appropriate documentation, and to meet the needs that the government is asking us, that has affected us tremendously when it came to funding as a result of the epidemic and businesses being closed. A lot of small businesses lost out for a number of reasons, and that's not what we're going in today. But Fawn, what would you say to our small business owners when it comes to the census?
I'd say to business owners, small, large, in between, that it's important to carry the message. I'll recall one exchange that I had with a major employer in Tampa, and I'd asked for support. My premise is we're shut down.
Okay.
And you're an essential. So people are coming to you. May we display a partner slick? Had a picture of a family and importance of the census, window clean. And I got a note to that. Wasn't going to cost the employer anything. There was no signage on the clear, the protector that we all have, because it was just going up then. So, and it's such a major force in our community, that didn't set well with me. And I wasn't taking no for an answer just like that. I could understand the impact that it was having on their business and bottom line and all those things. Because when people can't come in, all they can use is a drive-through. Of course, it's going to be an impact. So I came a different way. And that's what we have to do. Business owners, we have to come a different way. So I said, well, what are you doing internally? Are you able to encourage your employees to take the census? And the hidden message in that is you would not have these employees without health and housing subsidies, without food stamps and WIC, without public transportation, because your starting wage is not enough. It's not a living wage. Okay. It's not a living wage. And as I've listened to the accounts concerning small businesses, especially Black-owned small businesses.
Absolutely.
Many don't have the banking relationship, and that first wave of money went out to businesses that it shouldn't have gone out to.
Big business.
Big business.
Mega business.
Business. Yes. Yes. Whose budgets look like not a small business.
Numbers we can't even count.
So when the second wave came, I got somebody's attention. So a few more people were able to take advantage. And I'm saying that we have to be aware. We've always been aware of having to be better and do better. Yet we need to educate ourselves to understand how this system runs on money and services. And because we've largely been consumers, it's time to become owners. And census stats even tell us where the businesses need to start.
All right. Well, census stats, keyword. You need statistical data. You need evidence-driven results. So we're here today making a plea to our community, to our family, to please take the 10 minutes and complete your census. And if you do, then shout it out on your, actually there's a sticker that you can put on your Facebook page that says something like, I've been counted, to let us know. Same thing that we do when we vote. We put that sticker up there that says, I voted. But you know what? Let us know you got counted in the 2020 census. We are going to identify some of your top hot spots that you called out. We'll put them in our thank you post as our show comes to the end. Let me take this opportunity, and as you're getting your final thoughts together, let me take this opportunity to first of all say thank you for being a guest on Let's Talk Business. We can flip that logo. On Let's Talk Business with SJC and my co-host, Derrick Blue, who was doing some traveling. So we have tried to, Mr. Blue, lay out the blueprint for the importance of, he loves to give nuggets and steps. And you came here with 3 steps. And we'll let you close with those 3 steps of how we can take advantage of what legally we are supposed to be doing, and that is do it now. It's July 1st. Let's push. It's Independence Day. It's a holiday weekend. We just celebrated our independence on Juneteenth, but let's push to get the census completed. I wanted to ask you, where can we get some of those stickers for, maybe you've done this already, barbershops, beauty salon, retail spaces that have opened as a result of going through the second phase of COVID-19. Let us know where we can get those from and where we can put them outside of our businesses or stick them on our windows if you have them. So with what we have left in our last 5 minutes, which is probably now, 2 people we wanted to shout out. CDC. Shout out to Ernest Coney. CDC of Tampa, because they've really been pushing. Matter of fact, early on, they were helping the census to hire, I don't know if it was boots on the grounds or investigators, but they had a hiring program to be able to do that, and they've been doing that. So it's important to check with them as well. The other thing is shout out to In Touch News. So these are your partners that we're talking about. So as we wrap up, we're going to do the 1, 2, 3, but in your words and in a minute, final thoughts. Phan Boston,
okay.
Census Coordinator.
Ditto to CDC and In Touch for your continued support, particularly to CDC, who, as you travel Hillsborough, when you pass their office, you will see 4 electronic panels.
Yes.
That take the census message. They never hesitated when I did the ask, and before I could get home, it was up.
They were up.
The message was up, and it's been up since, I believe, March. It's been up. So I'm very grateful for that, and certainly grateful for this online presentation. So yes. We boiled it down to what each of us can do. If we've already done it, we need to tell somebody.
Tell somebody. Okay.
You can respond online, 2020census.gov.
Number one.
One, you can telephone. That number is 844-330-2020.
Give it out again.
844-330-2020. And that's important because if you go to Facebook, you'll find it on my page.
Yes.
Because you have to go online in order to find the phone number. So as I'm putting out messaging, I'm making sure that number is affixed. Yes. So that's important. So those are the three ways, and by mail. So you call the number to do it by mail.
All right.
And we thank you very much for your support, and we are looking for higher results. Let's hit. We're going for 100.
Yeah, higher results, higher results. Be counted. And also, let me shout out DSR Black pages, because each week we are blasting this information for you. We're giving you just a basic information, but at the same time, we're pushing 1, 2, 3 steps as well. And look forward to seeing messages on the digital mobile billboard coming through your community, reminding you and asking you during the month of July. So when you see the billboard, honk your horn, but more importantly, let us know that you saw it, you got a reminder, and you completed Census 2020. So thank you again to our In Touch News Facebook family. Thank you to those who are live, listening to us live. We'll say hello to you. But for this show, let's talk business with SJC, my co-host in his absence, Derrick Blue. We have given you the blueprint here on this show. So at this moment, this part of the Zoom is a wrap. And we'll take a minute to say hello to our Facebook family and friends.